legislative session for the Board of County Commissioners to order.
Recording in progress.
For Tuesday, August 9th. And first item, want to acknowledge that we have all three commissioners present. Commissioner Cooney is joining us digitally. And can you hear us okay, Commissioner Cooney?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for running the meeting for me. I am still home with that summer cold that seems to be lingering a little bit.
Well, we hope you get well soon. So, and then Commissioner Kearns and I are obviously in the chamber. So our first item of business is open public forum. This is where members of the public can share with us comments. We allocate 3 minutes per speaker, and I do have signed up 5 individuals that have indicated that they want to speak, and so I'll go through them in the order that they were presented to me. And at the end of your 3 minutes, we will notify you, and there'll also be a clock running on the screen, hopefully, so that you'll have a idea about how much time you have available. And if you come up to the microphone, identify yourself and your address, and then you can share with us your thoughts. So the first speaker that I have signed up is, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name. I'll do the best I can, but if I miss it, it's not intentional. I have a Shelley Burcampus. Hi.
Is this where I stand?
What's that?
Is this where I stand?
Yes.
Okay.
Ma'am.
All right. Yeah, my name is Shelby Burcampus. My address is 831 South Lincoln Street. And good afternoon. I'm the Director of Educare at Transitions and a member of the Spokane Alliance. I'm here with other members of the Spokane Alliance who I would like to ask to stand up, please. Today we are representing just 4 of the 37 member organizations across Spokane from union, faith, and nonprofit sectors who are struggling to afford and maintain quality childcare. My institution, Transitions, has a mission to end poverty for all women and children in Spokane, and that mission cannot be obtained without your public investment in early childhood development. First, we want to thank you for providing $3.3 million of CARES Act funding to early learning back in 2020, and for working on developing a pilot program to support the behavioral health of teachers and students through county's mental health sales tax. We also appreciate the productive conversations we've been able to have with county staff and you, Commissioner French, about finding sustainable funding sources to ensure access to quality, affordable childcare in the Spokane region. However, the existing allocations have so far been a drop in the bucket compared to what's needed to address the childcare desert in Spokane County. We are here to urge you to match the investments made by the city and valley by allocating $4.5 million in ARPA American Rescue Plan dollars to stabilize the childcare industry and meet the workforce demand for licensed providers. Through our research with providers and families, we have identified the following solutions. Affordability for middle-income families. The healthcare workers, teachers, and others whose incomes are too high for state subsidy but too low to cover household bills if they pay full price for childcare. Support for the workforce through direct grants for centers so that the industry can start to meet the demand for licensed providers. And finally, mental health resources and early learning. Expanding access to mental health consultation in order to address behavioral health in the classroom. According to the county's own survey on how constituents want ARPA funds to be spent, the highest need, aside from housing, was childcare. Behind me you will see a string of 100 postcards filled out by your constituents explaining how the childcare crisis impacts them. That string is continuing to grow with each day that we fail to take action. We will follow up with each of you individually and look forward to working with you to move the ARPA allocation forward. Thank you for hearing our concerns. We look forward to talking soon.
Thank you.
Yes.
Timed it well. Yeah. Okay, so the next speaker I have is Tamra Meineke. Meineke.
Good afternoon. I'm Tamara Meineke, a member of St. David's Episcopal, part of Spokane Alliance. And I want you to allocate some ARPA money, $4.5 million of it, to childcare and early child learning. I'm 54, and I'm about to start a master's degree here in Spokane at the Health Sciences campus. But most of my working life, I was a professional musician. I remember one violinist I worked with who totally resented that we women who gave birth got 6 weeks maternity leave. He thought it was grossly unfair because he didn't get 6 weeks of vacation time too. All right, he is a little extreme, but our society in general isn't giving enough thought and care to taking good care of children. How did I find childcare? When I did go back to work, my job had a different schedule every week, so did my husband's. I worked 2 or 3 nights every week, so did my husband, and it was always different. How was I going to find someone who would work those nutty hours? I didn't have any family. What could I do? My husband's boss loved him, and every week I told him, these are the times my husband's available to work. Can you please schedule him then and not the other times so that we can tag team parent? And he saved us thousands of dollars. I still had to fill in the gaps with a childcare service that sent a different person each time and charged extra for night work. The reason I'm going to start a master's degree, my second career, I taught kindergarten through 8th grade. So I know kids, I love kids, and I have training in childhood development. But when I came here to Spokane, I turned down a job offer to work in childcare because it's in crisis and the pay is simply awful. It wasn't worth it to me and my family to endure those crisis conditions. That's why we really need you to work with the Spokane Alliance on the mental health and support and better pay. I'm telling these small incidents from my life to try to motivate you to do so. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you. Next on the list, I have Kim Kotlin. I got that right? I'm out of here then. No. Thank you.
I am impressed. Hello, my name is Kim Kotlin. I live at 1918 East 16th Avenue in Spokane. I am a member of the Spokane Alliance through Westminster United Church of Christ, and I also happen to work for the Early Childhood Education and Assistance Program in the East Valley School District. It's also known as ECAP. As an early childhood professional and a parent, I urge you to match the investments from the city and the valley by allocating $4.5 million of the ARPA dollars for early learning and childcare. This is important to me as a parent and as a professional. As a parent, my husband and I struggled to find a quality, affordable childcare program. Luckily, my parents were able to help out a couple of days a week. A family friend came in 30 minutes from Colbert one way the days that I needed them the rest of the week. When they were infant and toddlers. As my oldest moved into kindergarten, our friend could no longer make the drive, so we had to rely on a child care center. We loved the child care center, and they were worth every penny of the care that they gave our 2 kids. However, the cost for the 2 children was the same as my mortgage. We couldn't afford that. So we ended up taking out a home equity line of credit to pay for childcare, and ended up paying that off. I think my youngest was in junior high, about 8 years, because we were still getting debt. I'm not sure what we would have done if we were renting or if we didn't have any support. I don't know what we would have done. In the years since, it hasn't gotten any easier for families. The families of young children in the East Valley School District where I work have only a couple of daycares in the area, and the lack of childcare has created a huge crisis for our families. Our kids deserve the best start that we can give them. Families deserve options and peace of mind. Childcares need support to provide the best care they can. I urge you to work with providers, families, and the communities directly involved in this crisis, and to find solutions both short and long term, to give providers the behavior and emotional supports and resources so kids have what they need to be successful, and to make childcare affordable for families. We will be reaching out and would like to meet with each of you to discuss moving forward in allocating the ARPA funds towards supporting early childhood. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My next speaker is Tara Mugica. Wow, I'm 2 for 2. Holy cow.
We got the last name right. My name is Tara Mujica. I live at 6103 North Fleming Street in Spokane. Hi, County Commissioners. I'm a member of the Spokane Alliance as the Assistant Director of the TLC program at Transitions. I'm also a mother of 2 boys. As a mother, I've been affected by the struggle to simply find childcare, and once finding childcare, to pay for it. I pay $1,200 a month for just my 4-year-old, which is 30% of my income. For my 9-year-old, I can't even find childcare for him that I can afford. So he's home alone, except for when his grandparents are able to pop in. He's autistic, so the structured environment of a quality childcare center would really benefit him, but instead, he's at home in front of a screen, which is not ideal for any child, much less one on the spectrum. In addition, I work with moms and kiddos experiencing poverty and homelessness. The lack of affordable childcare is a frequent conversation, even with having an on-site daycare at Transitions. Their biggest barrier is availability. Most daycares are full, and the ones that do have availability are just too far for moms who don't have transportation. Lack of care outside of the 9 to 5 time frame is also a problem, because a lot of our participants work swing shifts or weekends. So a lot of moms have to leave their kids in less than ideal situations, which I've seen lead to CPS removals. I urge you to allocate $4.5 million of the county's ARPA dollars for early learning and childcare, especially for affordability for working families. Our childcare system is in crisis, and we can't move families out of poverty without available childcare that gives parents the ability to work in the first place. If you want the Spokane community to survive, you have to invest in affordable, available childcare for your workforce. Thank you.
Thank you. The last speaker I have that's signed up is Jackie Ennis. Wow, 3 for 3. I'm going to go get a lottery ticket.
Need the cheaters. Good afternoon, County Commissioners. My name is Jackie Ennis. I'm a member of the Spokane Alliance through St. David's Episcopal Church as the Parish Administrator. I live at 519 East Maxine at North Point. I'm here to urge you to match investments from the city and valley by allocating $4.5 million of the county's ARPA dollars for early learning and childcare. 40 years ago, after a 6-week maternity leave, I had to return to work due to family finances. I was fortunate that my mother-in-law and a family friend were able to share the child care of my newborn while my husband and I worked. Unfortunately, I have seen reliable, affordable child care availability deteriorate in those 40 years. My daughter is a sous chef who currently works for 2 restaurants. Through the understanding and generosity of my boss and the congregation I work for, I'm able to watch my 2 toddler grandsons 2 days a week in the office, and a third day on my Friday off, while she works at one restaurant. The other 2 days, my daughter must pay for childcare to work at the second restaurant. After taxes and paying for childcare, she is not earning enough to pay for the gas to get there. She is working as a maternity leave fill-in for 2 months. After that time is up, she will not continue. She can't afford to. She earns $16.50 an hour. Most child care providers are requesting $17 to $22 an hour per child, and most have a 6-month plus waiting list. I'm at least able to provide child care part-time. What about those parents who are not as fortunate? We do not need more young families forced into homelessness because they are unable to work due to inadequate child care support. I'm sure you agree that protecting our youngest community members with safe and affordable child care is one of the best investments you can make for the future of Spokane County. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. So that completes the list of people that have signed up. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to make any public comment to the board at this time? Do we have anybody online that would like to make any comments? Let's go.
Hello. I would like to make a comment. Can you hear me?
Yes, could you identify yourself and your address?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, County Commissioners. My name is Brian Gass. My address is 5010 South Chapman Road. And I apologize for calling in on Zoom. I know that we have a discussion point today regarding our speed limit on our street on Chapman Road, which I'm sure you guys will get to, but I would like to make a comment regarding that in public comment. I'm actually driving on the 5 northbound very safely and hands-free. And so thank you for allowing me to explain what's happening on our roadway. We currently have a residential roadway that is zoned at 45 miles an hour. It's my understanding that as a topic of discussion for today, that you guys will be discussing it. And I just wanted to add from a resident standpoint that we really need to lower our speed limit to 35 to mirror our adjoining streets. Our streets have become an open raceway for folks to
Brian?
to come through. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, so I've just been advised that this is actually an item in our public hearing. And so we do have a specific time allocated for taking testimony on our public hearing items. If you can
No
hang
problem,
in there
sir.
with us, we will come back to you and allow you to finish up your comments at that time.
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic. I wasn't sure if we were going to get a chance
Yep,
to speak on that item.
you're
at
gonna
that
get a
time,
chance.
so thank you.
I just allowed you to jump in there without realizing that it's actually one of the hearing items. So we will come back to you and you'll be
It
able to
was.
finish your comments. Thank you. Okay, anybody else want to provide any comments for us? Second call, third and final call. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for sharing your comments and your stories. I'm going to ask, and they didn't get a heads up on this, but Jeff and Ariane, would you come up and just share with the audience what we've done, what we are doing, and I think we've also got another allocation that was just recently made, and this is, I think, because of the advocacy from Commissioner Kearns. But can you just share very briefly kind of what we've done, where we're at, where we're going?
Sure, happy to. Jeff McMorris, Commissioner Staff. The way the ERP funding works is first it has to be put into a category, and then it gets moved from that category to an RFP for organizations to apply. Back in April, May timeframe, the first categories were funded, and we're down to nonprofits. So anybody out there in the nonprofit world, that one will open later this week and be open till just after Labor Day, and the affordable housing allocation. Once we get those two allocations both out on the street for RFPs, we'll start working on the second round of funding. The county did receive their second half of ARP funding from the federal government a couple months ago in June. So we do have all the funding here now. That was one of the commissioners' requests, that we don't start spending money before we actually have it in hand. So we will get that out. And on this particular subject, we have met multiple times with the Spokane Alliance. We've had some good discussions, some good dialogue and conversation about the needs in the community. We were pleased to hear just earlier this week, Commissioner Kearns, who's on the board of the Spokane Workforce Council, they received $1.5 million in funding. That was a Senator Murray, what we all know as earmarks. I think they're called congressionally directed spending now. It was a $3 million, but it was split between Yakima and Spokane. So there is another $1.5 million for child care in the Spokane community, which is good. And we will continue keeping this front of mind as we work through the process. Anything to add, Arian?
Arian Schmidt, Spokane County Commissioner staff. I think the only thing to mention that our guests as well as the commissioner said that the investment for early child care that was done through CARES had a deadline, and ARP has a deadline. And I think that the commissioners have relayed that they understand that this is a long-term sustainability. So Jeff and myself have been looking at ways to weave funds that come ongoing into the county so that we make progress in that, so that that resiliency and sustainability is seen far beyond when the ARP funds close. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think the one thing that is important to convey on this topic is that the Board of County Commissioners has not said no to any request yet with regard to child care. We are continuing to work to try and maximize the amount of funding that's come available. For instance, the additional $1.5 million that just became available that can help address the issue and stuff. So it's something that is top of mind and something that we are working on. So I just want to thank you for your advocacy. Thank you for the education, and thank you for the work that you do in terms of taking care of our future leaders and our youth of today. So thank you. With that, then I will close the public forum and then go to our consent agenda items. And we have two presentations to be made on the consent agenda.
Could you just confirm for the record that we didn't have any written comment on
Thank
the
you.
agenda? Thank you.
Yeah, and for the record, there was no written comment that was submitted on any of the agenda items appearing in today's agenda. So thank you for that, Mr. McLean. So I've got two presentations, and so one is Mr. Grote, and so if you could come up and address item 2G, and then I'll go to Mr. Crowder, who can speak to item 2I. Ms. Cameron.
I will kick us off. So I'm Ashley Cameron. I'm our Senior Director of HR. We are extremely excited to be here today, and I'll have Josh come up here in just a moment. Josh Grote is our Spokane County Employee and Labor Relations Manager. But I just wanted to give a brief introduction. We're very excited to be here today to discuss the regular meetings that we've been having with Council 2 and the tentative agreement that has been reached on both sides. The tentative agreement was reached mid-July between both sides, and the membership did vote to approve that agreement, and we were notified of that approval on July 28th. Today we're here to present to the commissioners for approval for ratification of the contract that will last until December 31st of 2024. All provisions of this contract would be implemented upon ratification, and we're extremely excited because this is very beneficial to our employees and our leadership team. With this agreement, we are able to provide wage increases while maintaining benefits for our employees, while giving our leadership team the ability to continue to meet the demands of our constituents and provide excellent customer service. So with that, I'd like to introduce Josh Grote and have him speak through some of the top level items of the contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. My name is Josh Grote. I'm the Employee and Labor Relations Manager for Spokane County. And I'm here, as Ashley put it, to brief the board on the contract terms that we reached an agreement with Local 1553S. They cover all of our supervisors at Spokane County outside of Public Works and our uniformed personnel in detention in the Sheriff's Office. Currently, there are about 69 members in this bargaining unit. As Ashley indicated, we reached an agreement on July 11th, and they voted to approve it on July 28th. So just a little brief overview. The additional costs by year, this is over what it would have been status quo, is $216,521.36 estimated for the remainder of this year. About $354,000 in year 2 and $303,000 in year 3. This contract will expire December 31st of 2024. And these numbers represent the wage increases from implementing additional COLAs and the classification study as the rest of the bargaining units. Next slide. Oops, sorry. So some of the union wins in this contract is beginning in 2023, they were going to begin observing Juneteenth as a recognized holiday. They will be upon approval of the board, they will be moved to the classification study, and they will also receive a 3% COLA this year, and then 3% in 2023 and 2024. We now have the ability with this implementation of the classification study to offer competitive wages for retention and attracting new candidates to the county. And then part of it was if they approved the agreement by July 31st of this year on the first vote, that they would get a one-time payment of $1,000 and also an additional 8 hours of PTO in their banks. So some of the wins that we were able to negotiate into this contract is that we were able to negotiate new healthcare language similar to the rest of the bargaining units that would allow us to make changes and look at different plan options and different setups of current plans. We would have the ability to implement a lag or normal payroll system during the term of this agreement. And then effective January 1st, 2023, all employees in this bargaining unit will now have a common COLA increase and step increase date of January 1st. As well as beginning January 1st, 2023, exempt employees will no longer be eligible to earn overtime. That is standard with industry. We were able to negotiate new liability language similar to other contracts regarding grievances in an attempt to make sure that grievances are resolved in a timely manner. And then just many other areas of cleanup, of increased efficiencies and flexibility that, as Ashley indicated, will allow us the flexibility in our operations moving forward. We updated the reclassification process to put that more in control with HR in the department. And then, once again, a win for us is the ability to offer market competitive wages to retain our current employees and attract new candidates to the county. Those are the major aspects of this agreement. Does the commission have any questions regarding this agreement?
Commissioner Cooney, do you have any questions? Okay, Commissioner Kearns? Very good. I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item is item 2I, and we have Mr. Crowder joining us. Mr. Crowder, you're on.
Thank you, commissioners, and good afternoon, everyone. Periodically, the Federal Aviation Administration and the Airport Board will seek to update master plans and airport layout plans for both Spokane International Airport and Phelps Field Airport. Today's resolution has been forwarded to the county commissioners for approval with regard to an update of the airport layout plan for Phelps Field Airport, which was last updated in 2005. I know we've had thorough conversation of this matter, and that in the packet there is a copy of the airport layout plan that is being recommended for update, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the commissioners may have.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder. Any Questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Cooney.
I just want to say thank you for updating the resolution and providing the clarity for us on the type of changes. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Kearns? Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Crowder, for joining us and the presentation. So with that then, the chair is open to a motion on item 2.
I move to approve item 2 and all sub-items as presented on today's August 9th, 2022 consent agenda.
And I will second that.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve item 2 and all the consent agenda items running from 2A through 200. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Let the record reflect the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And that then gets us to our public hearing items. And the first item, 3A, is in the matter concerning the approval of the 2022 Annual Action Plan, which includes the recommended allocation of Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Home Investment Partnership Program funding. And Kathleen, I believe you're going to lead out this.
Community Services, Housing, and Community Development. Thank you. And before we provide you with a briefing on this public hearing item, I'd like to introduce 3 new staff members to the Housing Community Development Division who are present today, as in the future some of them may be providing with the updates. First is Adam Shuley, Community Development Specialist 2, Andrea Perry, Secretary of the Division, and Ryla Garrick, also Community Development Specialist 2. And now I'd like to turn the time over for a briefing on this public hearing item to Christy Jeffers, who's also a Community Development Specialist too.
Thank you, Kathleen, and good afternoon, County Commissioners and everyone. The Annual Action Plan is a HUD requirement for applying for home and CDBG allocation grant funding each year. Prior to finalizing the draft 2022 Annual Action Plan, we're required to have a public comment period, which concludes with this public hearing today. Since our department's briefing with the Board of County Commissioners on July 18th regarding the draft 2022 Annual Action Plan, HUD has confirmed Spokane County CDBG and home entitlement grant allocation amounts as of Friday, August 5th, 2022. Additionally, unlike years past, HUD is requiring that we submit this 2022 Annual Action Plan based on the confirmed initial allocation estimates, which are published online, rather than await for the official letter from HUD addressed to the board chair. Therefore, the draft 2022 Annual Action Plan before you reflects the confirmed current estimated allocation amounts, which for CDBG is $1,666,938, and for home, $947,545. The entire packet provided to you for this public hearing item includes the updated draft 2022 Annual Action Plan and other required documents and forms, which represent Spokane County's application to the Department of Housing and Urban Development for CDBG and home grant funding for the 2022 program year, which began July 1, 2022. Included in the documentation are the Housing and Community Development Advisory Committee's recommendations for funding of the CDBG and home 2022 projects and activities. Please do note that the allocation amounts in the 2022 program project list remain draft and will be finalized with amended budgets when we receive the actual HUD agreements and the final entitlement amounts and prepare those contracts with these subrecipients. Please note there is still a possibility that HUD's actual agreements may contain another change to the CDBG and home entitlement amounts, as has occurred in the past. Should this occur, we will come back before the Board of County Commissioners again, and with any substantial change to the 2022 Annual Action Plan and its associated list of projects and activities or allocation amounts from HUD. We're available to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Cooney? Commissioner Kearns? Very good. So, any other presentation items? Very good. So this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open it up for anybody in the audience who would like to provide any testimony on hearing item 3A. Second call for anybody wanting to provide testimony on hearing item 3A. If you'd like to provide testimony, please just stand up and come to the podium and we'll have you fill out one of these very magical sign-up sheets. So third and final call for anybody wanting to provide testimony on item 3A. And we do not have anybody digitally. So with that then, I will close the public hearing and look to my fellow commissioners for direction.
I move to approve item 3A as presented by staff.
I will second that.
Got a motion and a second to approve item 3A as presented. Any discussion? Commissioner Cooney, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Let the record reflect the motion passed unanimously. Then, moving on to 3B, like in boy, looks like we got Matt Ziricor that's going to make a presentation. This is to consider establishment of 9th Court in the Platte Beck 2nd Edition County Engineers Road File number 2683 for the Spokane County Public Works Department. Welcome, Mr. Ziricor.
Thank you, Commissioner French. This will be the first of 4 establishments for a public hearing today. And the first one is 9th Court, and it's in the plat of Beck 2nd Edition. The road, 9th Court, has been examined by Spokane County Public Works and determined that it should be established as a county road in accordance with RCW 3681. This examination found that the roadways were 1, necessary to provide access for the platted lots, have the proper endpoints and general alignment and right-of-way, which have all been established by survey. The roadways have been designed, constructed, and certified to meet county standards, and with that, I would recommend to the Board of County Commissioners that you establish this roadway. And I'm available for any questions that may come up.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Cooney? Thanks, Commissioner Kearns. All right, thank you. With that, this is a public hearing item, so I'll open up the hearing for anybody in the audience that would like to provide any testimony on item 3B as presented by Mr. Ziricor. Second call for anybody wanting to provide testimony. Third and final call, seeing nobody come forward, I'm going to go ahead and close the hearing and look to my fellow commissioners for direction.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve item 2 in the, or to accept the county engineer's recommendation and approve establishment of 9th Court in plat Beck 2nd Edition County Engineers Road File number 2683 for Spokane County Public Works Department.
I will second that.
Thank you. I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Let the record reflect the motion passes unanimously. That gets us to item 3C, like in Charlie. Consider establishment of 10th Court in the short plat SP 1679-20, County Engineers Road File number 2683 for Spokane County Public Works Department. Mr. Ziricor.
Thank you again, Commissioner French, and thank you to Ron for covering my slides for me, which I was neglecting. This first slide just gets you oriented a little bit. This next establishment's directly south of 9th Court. It's 10th Court, and again, it's serving a small subdivision. It's a 7-lot subdivision, and it's short plat 1679 is the actual subdivision it supports. And again, these roads have been examined by Spokane County Public Works staff, and they are necessary for the access to this property. The proper endpoints, general alignment, and right-of-way have all been determined to be available and surveyed in. The roadways were designed, constructed, and certified in accordance with county standards, and with that, I again recommend that the Board of County Commissioners accept this road for establishment.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Cooney? No? Commissioner Kearns? Very good. So I will open it up for anybody in the audience like providing testimony on hearing item number 3C, like in Charlie. And again, if you're online and want to provide testimony, please use the raised hand function so that we can identify you as a potential speaker. So anybody in the audience like providing any testimony on hearing item 3C? Second call for anybody looking to provide testimony. Third and final call. We have nobody online, so I'm going to close the hearing and look to my fellow commissioners for direction.
I move to approve item number C and accept the county engineer's recommendation to establish the 10th court in the short plat SP 1679-20, county engineer's road file number 2683 for Spokane County Public Works Department.
I will second that.
Thank you. I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Let the record reflect motion passed unanimously. Then, Mr. Zierkorter, you're up again.
Thank you, Commissioner French. The next establishment is for Chapman Road. Next slide, please. And just to get oriented, Chapman Road is in the South Valley. You can see Barker's alignment there, and Chapman is the red line that climbs up into the Morningside area. And next slide. This is a little zoomed in view of that same roadway, and it serves a number of existing subdivisions. Chapman Road itself, the actual roadway, was established a number of years ago, actually 8 to 10 years ago. The reason that we're following on with this establishment is we had a lot of issues with erosion on the roadside swales adjacent to the road and the hillside that the road was cut out of. And we pulled it out separately to give the developer an opportunity to get additional establishment of vegetation on those roadside swales and the hillside. And at this point, we have what we think we're going to get. It's very sterile sand, so it's not perfect, but it's as good as we're likely to get. So we're moving forward with this establishment. So again, we have identified the roads, and they've been examined by Spokane County Public Works staff, and they've deemed them that the endpoints, general alignment, and right-of-way have all been established by survey, and they've been designed, constructed, and certified to meet our county standards. And with that, I would again recommend to the Board of County Commissioners that we establish these roadways.
Thank you, Mr. Zierkorter. Any questions for Mr. Zierkorter? Commissioner Cooney? Nope. Commissioner Kearns? Very good. So then I will open it up for anybody in the audience like providing testimony on hearing item number 3D, like in Delta. And do we have anybody online that wants to provide any testimony? Okay, so anybody in the audience like providing testimony on item 3D? Second call for anybody wanting to provide testimony on 3D. Third and final call. Seeing nobody run to the mic, I'm going to close the hearing and look to my fellow commissioners for direction.
I move that we accept the county engineer's recommendation and the establishment of Chapman Road, county engineer road file number 2507 for the Spokane County Public Works Department.
I will second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Let the record reflect motion passed unanimously. Then getting to 3E, like 3 Echo, consider establishment of 18th Avenue, 19th Avenue, Green Acre Street, Revista Street, Bay Street, McKee Street, and Donwood Street, and plat Sterling Hills Phase 2, Sterling Hills Phase 3, and Sterling Hills Phase 4, County Engineers Road File number 2507 for the Spokane County Public Works Department. Mr. Zierkorter.
Thank you again, Commissioner French. This will be the last establishment, gratefully. And next slide, please, Ron. This project is directly south of Chapman Road, the road we were just talking about, again in the South Valley. And we're actually establishing 3 phases with this action. And the initial phase was established some time ago. These are, you can see, blue is obviously 2, green is 3, and the yellow is phase 4 of Sterling Hills. And the roads were listed by Commissioner French previously. And again, Spokane County Public Works staff have examined the roads in accordance with RCW 3681, and the examination found that the The roadways provide the necessary access to the platted lots. And again, they have the proper endpoints, general alignment, and right-of-way, and they've all been established by survey. And the roadways were again designed, constructed, and certified to meet county road standards. And with that, I would again recommend to the Board of County Commissioners that they accept these roads for establishment.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Ziricor? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open up the hearing to anybody in the public who would like to provide any testimony on hearing item 3E like an echo. And do we have anybody online digitally? So anybody in the audience would like to provide any testimony on item 3E? Second call for anybody wanting to provide testimony on 3E.
I couldn't find that in your Apple Music library. You can ask me to play a radio station or ask for your music on a different app.
Okay, so I have an Apple Watch so I can talk to myself, so give me a break. No. Third and final call for anybody wanting to provide testimony on item 3E. Going to close the hearing and look to my fellow commissioners for direction.
I move to approve item 3E and accept the county engineer's recommendation as presented.
And a second that?
Got a motion and a second to approve 3E as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Let the record reflect motion passed unanimously. Then, moving on to 3F.
Thank you, Commissioner French. I'm going to turn it over to Deborah Firkins to do the presentation on this franchise.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Deborah Firkins with the Public Works Department. Considering the application of Flock Safety for a franchise to construct, operate, maintain a telecommunications system in, over, along, and under county roads, highways, and rights-of-way in Spokane, Washington. Flock Safety is working with the Spokane County Sheriff's Office to install ALPR cameras on new and existing infrastructure within the county road right-of-ways. If the board has any questions for Flock Safety, I believe that Mac Larkin may be attending this meeting virtually. Spokane County Public Works Department recommends that this telecommunication franchise be granted to Flock Safety for the installation of the ALOR cameras. ALPR cameras, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Firkins? Commissioner Cooney? Yes.
I just wanted to ask, so how many, I've seen all the red dots, how many different cameras are we looking for this fall?
I believe that was supposed to be 29 cameras.
Thank you. That's my question.
5, 26, 7, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 34, sorry. Cameras. Did that answer?
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Any other questions? Okay, so this is a public hearing, so I will open it up to anybody in the audience who would like to provide any testimony. I do see that we do have Mr. Larkin joining us digitally, so Mr. Larkin, I'll give you the opportunity to provide testimony on item 3F.
Thank you so much, Commissioners. Mac Larkin here with Flock Safety. I am our local entity for all of Washington State here with Flock, and actually reside at 1405 North River Ridge Boulevard here in town. I am here to speak briefly about the technology and really provide anyone the opportunity to ask questions about what it is that these cameras do and don't do. We recently deployed these in Yakima with Yakima Police Department back in April as our first customer here in Washington State. I think you could call them up and see the results that they've seen while still protecting the security and privacy of all of their constituents in town. Our goal isn't to surveil people, it's to provide great leads for law enforcement and do that in a manner that is maintaining both the a clean aesthetic here in Spokane with what the actual hardware looks like, as well as maintaining privacy, like I mentioned there. So I will concede the rest of my time to answer other questions that might come up.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Larkin. So I will see if there's anybody else in the audience who would like for any testimony on item 3F. Second call for anybody wanting to provide testimony. Third and final call, and we have nobody else on Zoom. So with that, I will close the public hearing and look to my fellow commissioners for direction.
I move to approve item 3F as presented by staff today.
I will second that.
We've got a motion and a second to approve item 3F as presented. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Let the record reflect motion passed unanimously. Thank you. That gets us to 3G, Mr. Zirkor.
Thank you again, Commissioner French. The next item we have for you is regarding our Complete Streets Ordinance that we're proposing. And you can see on the slide here, in 2011, the state legislature passed a Complete Streets Act, and that was encouraging local governments to adopt their own Complete Streets Ordinance. And the goal of that being to provide safe access to all users, including bicyclists, pedestrians, motorists, and public transportation users. Next slide. So what are they? This is the definition out of the amendment, and it's context sensitive, which I'll talk about a little more later. Flexible, and the goal is really to increase safety and support mobility of people of all ages and all modes of transportation, walking, driving, biking, and also including freight. Next slide. So I won't run through all of these, but these are some of the goals of your Complete Streets Ordinance. Really, it's setting a vision. Where do we want it to be and how should it go as we move through complete streets. And it's to include all users, as we mentioned before, and emphasizes connectivity. And we use it with best practice design, and it's very flexible, which is important to us. Next slide. So what are the exceptions? Obviously, if it's something that's prohibited, this would be similar to, allowing pedestrians and bicyclists on freeways, which isn't really applicable to what we're doing. The state has those routes. In cases where the cost is disproportionate to the need or the use. And that's a really big one for us. We aren't going to be able to support every facility in every setting, and I think people acknowledge that. It's just not, the funding isn't available to do that, and probably not even appropriate if we had the funding. But if there's the absence of current or future need, that would be another exception. Ordinary maintenance and repairs would not trigger this kind of analysis, and that's important. We can't be looking at this every time we do preservation work on a roadway, for example. And there may be other exceptions, in the initial determinations made by county engineer, by me. So, next slide. Why would we want this ordinance? And there's a lot of reasons in addition to what we've talked about. A lot of them are regarding funding. TIB currently has a funding available, and it varies. You can see on the slide here, $300,000 to $750,000 in flexible funding for various types of projects, so it gives us access to that funding. And then also, we have a lot of projects that are already underway. This is how we currently do business anyway, so this is really just formalizing it so we can get these additional funding opportunities and additional points. And the last one there, there's other various grants, and the next slide will list those out a little more. In addition to the TIB grants we talked about, there's also urban arterial funding and UIP funding. And then you can see all the other ones listed there. These are all opportunities that we get additional points for if we have an adopted Complete Streets Ordinance. So it's good rationale for having one. And like I said, it's really how we do business anyway. So it's the formalization just gives us a few more opportunities to compete for grants. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have, and I'm available to answer any public comment you may get.
Any questions, Commissioner Cooney? Commissioner Kearns? So I do sit on the TIB Transportation Improvement Board, and there are funds that are given out every year to support communities that are invested into complete streets. And as Mr. Ziracourt indicated, this has been our practice for years. We've already been doing the policy, but we didn't have a formal policy adopted. And that's one of the requirements for the TIB, is that you have adopted formal policy so that it makes you eligible to receive funds. And so this provides another avenue for bringing revenue to Spokane County to build out our infrastructure. So really appreciate your leadership, Mr. Ziracourt, and your staff for developing this policy and bringing it forward to the board. So with that,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Commissioner. And I should also add on that really I would like to thank our staff too. We have some really great staff that pursues our funding opportunities for us, that also prepared and executed this complete streets ordinance. So would like to thank them for their time and efforts in that. They do a really great job, and we the citizens of Spokane County are all the beneficiaries of that work.
Very good. So we'll open this up for a public hearing. Anybody in the audience would like providing testimony on hearing item 3G? And do we have anybody online identified? So if somebody is online and they want to provide testimony, please use the raised hand function. Otherwise, is there anybody in the audience like for any testimony on 3G? Second call for anybody wanting to provide testimony. Third and final call, seeing nobody run to the mic. I'm going to close the public hearing, look at my fellow commissioners for direction.
I move to approve item 3G as presented by staff.
Got a motion and a second to approve 3G as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Let the record reflect the motion passed unanimously. Then, 3H.
All right, thank you, Commissioner French. Last but not least, this is also the one that Mr. Gass would like to present testimony on if he's still available, but I will turn it over to Nate Thompson, our traffic engineer in Spokane County Public Works, to give you a brief presentation on this next issue.
Thank you, Commissioner French. So I'm here to propose a speed limit reduction for a couple of roads in East Spokane County. As you can see on the slide, it's Chapman Road and Linky Road that comes off of Chapman Road. It's between 44th and Linky Road is between 32nd and Chapman. This proposal is to lower the speed limit from 45 mile an hour to 35. It was initiated by public request for safety, and the second reason is for consistency. All of the roads, surrounding roads, paved roads in this area are already 35, and we received a petition on Chapman Road from the community. I think it was over 50 signatures on that. Linky Road, I've received phone calls, quite a few phone calls over the year requesting the same thing. So with that, Public Works recommends lowering the speed limit here for your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions on this proposal? Yes, Commissioner Kearns. Or, I'm sorry, Commissioner Cooney.
Thank you. So I just want to say, I know that Mr. Gass was, I hope he's still on, because he was the one who really spearheaded this from that neighborhood area. Matt and I went out and drove it a couple of different times with Mr. Gass. And so, so I just appreciate the feedback from the community, letting us know that this was, one of the few roads around it that is still at 45, which is the others that have already been moved to 35. And so, just want to say thank you to having Mr. Gass be there and help still have the petition, so that we knew that the community was behind it and wanted to make it happen.
Thank you, Commissioner Cooney. And for the record, do want to point out, I don't know whether Mr. Goss has joined us yet again, but if not, I just want to echo Commissioner Cooney's comments that his comments should be incorporated as a response to hearing item number 3H, and he was commenting very much in support of this effort. So, is he back online? Yes, Mr. Goss.
Yes, sir.
So we are back to your item. I was just commenting that your previous comments would be reflected in the record in support of this motion, but thank you for rejoining us, and I will turn over the floor to you for any additional comments you might have.
Thank you, Commissioner French, and thank you to all the commissioners. Before I get started, I definitely would like to send a big thank you to Mr. Zerkor as well as Commissioner Cooney, who not only made multiple trips to my area and our street, but in addition came out to meet with us as well as my neighbors to run our street and the street limit. And that's the type of community action that really says a lot about our leadership. So, all of this really started as a result of me taking a garbage can out and almost getting struck by a vehicle at an excessive rate of speed. And
So I would comment that we've lost the signal, but I don't know that he knows that we lost the signal. So it just sounded like he was getting out of range. We got the gist, and I think he's going to be happy with where we're going. So I will open it up to anybody in the audience like for any testimony, and maybe he'll get back to a signal. Yes, sir. Please come to the microphone and give us your name and address, and then fill out one of our forms for us so that we've got a record of your participation here.
Hi, my name is Craig Fields. I live at 6117 South Chapman Road. I do live on an area of Chapman Road where the speed limit is 35, right past Mr. Gass's house. So you come off 32nd Road and you get on Chapman, it's 35. You travel for approximately a mile and it goes up to 45. Right when it goes up to 45 is where it's no longer clear, you know, it's not open fields, it's timbers, it's a steep hill down. And it is dangerous for the people backing out, but it's also dangerous for the people that walk on that road and ride their bicycles on the road, and the people driving the car. If you're coming down the hill walking on the shoulder and a car comes up, automatically because it's not that wide, it's fairly narrow county road, they go over the side. Now if you can't see over the top and there's a car coming, and it gets a little scary. There's a lot of braking, people jumping into the ditch and stuff. That whole other side, there's a large population area. That Conklin and 32nd and Chapman, they walk around a loop. Spokane Bike Club and all the bike clubs in their evening rides, it's one of their favorite areas because, you know, it's not a dense population. The traffic isn't terribly heavy. It's actually fairly scenic, and it's a nice ride. So there's a lot of bicycle riders, and, you know, it's just not Mr. Gass almost getting ran over by his garbage can. It's everybody else that really kind of uses that road for recreational purposes. So it doesn't really make sense that it goes from 35, goes to 45, and then probably approximately 3/4 miles after it goes down a couple hills and it opens up a little bit more, then it's back down to 35. And naturally, once people hit that 45, they're not slowing down to that 35. So, and I would like to thank Mary Cooney and thank you. You guys already heard me enough, and I know you have a lot more important items to discuss, so I will end that, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir, and make sure you fill out one of our slips here so we can get you on the record. And with that, then, have we been rejoined by Mr. Goss? So let's see if we can go back to him. Are you on, sir? Mr. Gass? Are you on mute? Can we see him? He might be struggling to dropped off again. Okay.
I have pulled off the roadway and I'm in a high bandwidth area for you guys. I'm so sorry.
Well, we can hear you now, so go ahead and finish your comments.
Perfect. Thank you, commissioners. I would just like to add what Mr. Fields. I'm just going to throw something on the end of Mr. Fields. One of the I think corrective measures besides lowering the speed limit is what we'd love to see the county introduce is to place the radar speed limit so that we can understand and people can understand that there's a change to the speed limit, because in spite of the fact that we changed the signs, I don't believe that the folks that are driving that are violating, which is primarily not our neighbors, it's the worker trucks that are going to the new developments, it's the people that are using Chapman Road as a cut through to Micah Peak. Those are the folks that are really the violators. Most of the local folks just want to drive there, but we definitely want to encourage the county to set up the markers that let them know that they're exceeding the speed limit. And it's my understanding that there's data collected from there, and if we continue to see excessive speeds over that, we would like to ask county commissioners to work together with the Spokane County sheriffs to monitor our speed limit and possibly issue or at least have a presence on our street. I've lived there 1 year and I've never seen a unit on my street ever, not once, other than when the house across the street had a trailer that caught on fire. Other than that, thank you guys very much for your time and your patience while I'm driving. I know this is not ideal, but you guys, this is the reason why I moved to Spokane County. This is the exact reason. This is quite possibly the best city council, county commissioner meeting that I've ever sat in, and I've sat in a lot of them. So thank you guys very much for your time. I appreciate your willingness to talk about it.
Thank you, sir, and safe travels, and thanks for joining us. So,
thank you.
Anybody else that's online that would like to provide any testimony on hearing item 3H? Second call for anybody wanting to provide testimony. Third and final call. So I'm going to close the hearing on 3H and look to my fellow commissioners for direction.
Commissioner French, I move to approve item 3H as presented by staff in considering the revision of Spokane County Traffic Code number 46.61.4. 155.4, add 35 mile per hour on Chapman Road and Linky Road for Spokane County Public Works Department.
I will second that, and I will provide just an additional comment on that.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. That yes, County Road Engineer Matt Zorko and I talked about that with Mr. Gaston out there, that as we look to change the speed limit, that we will try to coordinate with the sheriff's office to have one of those radar signs out there, telling people what their speed are, so that way as the change is made, we can have that out there. We know that we're going to have so many, so it can only be out there on a temporary basis, but at least it will help identify to travelers that it is a new speed. So it kind of be that flasher for them initially to take note of that. So I know Matt, we've already talked about trying to do that.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kearns, any comments?
Yeah, I want to thank our staff, thank the two gentlemen that testified today. Thank you to Commissioner Cuney and helping shepherd this across the finish line. And it's hard to not contrast this with if you were to attempt to get a speed limit change with Washington State Department of Transportation and the arrogant response you would receive back from them. So this is how government is supposed to operate. This is citizen driven, and so I just want to thank everybody that's been involved with this speed change. And I hope those at the state level can maybe watch this video and understand how they should operate.
Thank you, Commissioner Kearns. So with that then, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Let the record reflect the motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Cooney, do we have your permission to use your stamp on the documents for today?
Yes, you do.
Thank you. That completes all the items on our printed agenda. We are going to have an executive session for the purposes of discussing pending or potential litigation. And present in that executive session will be all three commissioners plus our senior management team, our attorney, Mr. McLean, and risk manager, Steve Bartell, and anybody else that we need to be included in that. So that will take approximately, how long do we anticipate? 15 or 50? 1-5. So that'll take 15 minutes. We're going to have the executive session in the chambers here, so we're going to ask everybody else that's not part of the executive session to leave. And when we're finished with the executive session, that will complete all the business coming before the board.
Let's add 15 minutes for review the performance of a public employee.
Okay, so we are going to also extend the executive session to include 2 items. One's pending a potential litigation, and item 2 is the performance of a public employee. And that will also be 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And the same people will be present.
No, the second one will be the 3 commissioners, Mark and Scott.
Okay, so it is a moving target. So the first item for executive session will be pending or potential litigation, and that will be attended by the commissioners, senior management team, Mr. McLean and Mr. Bartell. That will take 15 minutes. The second executive session will be for the review of review the performance of a public employee, and that will include the 3 commissioners, Mark McLean and Scott Simmons, and that will be for 15 minutes. After the second executive session, we will then have completed all the business coming before the board, and we will be adjourned for the day. It is now 3:19, so we'll start the executive session at 3:20. All right?
Does Commissioner Cuny have the link to the executive session?
Yeah, you're on mute.
I think I do, so I'll log out, sign into that, hope that.
Yeah, Gina says that it's in the calendar. Okay, so give us 1 minute and we'll be in executive session.